Hello bass family and welcome to Everything Bass. We're moving on with tapping pattern 17. A little behind the scenes here. Just right before recording today, I had an accident, cut my hands pretty badly, so I apologize if I don't play too well today. I'm doing my best. But yeah, something no musician wants is to cut up hands and fingers, but boy, ow. But I wanted to keep going because I was really excited. The tapping patterns seem to be hitting a chord, no pun intended. But people seem to enjoy them, and I only record on the weekends, so I want to make sure I get another one out to you guys. So tapping pattern 17, which I demonstrated at the intro, is how I started working my independence out. Independence means you play something with your left hand and something different with your right hand. So when I first started working this in the 80s, I took something I knew really well, which is this bass line. Great blues, early 50s rock bass line. And I was thinking about, there must have been a recording I heard growing up where the horns were ba 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 da ba 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 ba. So I had that in my head, and I thought, well, what if I just, to get my independence, at the very beginning of getting my independence down, what if I just play the G, which is the octave of the root, and try to play like those little horn stabs that I was hearing, again, from some influence as a kid. So I came up with the pattern that you heard me play. Now, this also helped me kind of organize my thoughts, because I realized that if you break down tapping independence to the smallest form, you're either going to do something with your hands, your fingers work together. They work exactly opposite, like 8th notes or 16th notes opposite, like 1 E and 2 E, where they're very even. Or some kind of flam, so you have together, perfectly opposite, or some kind of like flam where they shadow each other. And once I started learning that, it started breaking down pretty easy, and I started able to develop my independence. Now, being able to see it as written music really helps. Now, I know that you might not sight read, and that's okay. And the chart that I created for this is written in both standard notation and tab. But why I say that is the way I write it is so you can actually visually see, even on the tab, when my fingers are working together, when they're working exactly opposite. On this particular piece, there's no flam, so it doesn't really pertain. So let's jump right into it. There's a pickup note on this one, which is the last 8th note. So if you were counting out, the drummer's counting out 1, 2, 3, 4, ba, you're going to play on the and to 4. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you're going to play a 12th fret G. Now you're going to tap that. I like to use my index finger, and I put my thumb on the top of the bass to give me a something opposing that I can get a little more strength, a little more clarity. Plus, it won't wander around. Like if you're tapping with your right hand or your plucking hand floating, sometimes you can miss and it's not consistent. By just keeping my thumb on the top of the fingerboard, I know that that's going to be there every time I need it to be. So we start with that little pickup note, and it leads into a root. That's quite simple. 12th fret, 3rd fret. Now, so we go and we answer it. And if I say it, the timing, it'd be the and to 4, then 1 and 2. Okay. Now the next thing I do is I play the 5th, but simultaneously at the same time that I hit the 12, which is nice because that's a power chord. It's a G and a D. It's a perfect 5th. So, right? Now after that, it's just a sol, left hand by itself. So, now that's a good demonstration of what I was talking about the fingers either working exactly opposite or together. So it's opposite, 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 together, opposite. Okay. All right. Now the next measure, we play simultaneously again, both the 3rd fret F and the G, which is a second interval, but can be a little bit harsh. Sounds cool. So we got, all right, now on the way down, now it's interesting because I'm going to do another and, the and of 1, a 12th fret, then I hit the E, and then and, the D, and B, and. So let's break that down. So you see how I'm just kind of like Now it's almost, I start with the together, and then it's just opposite. By being cognizant of that, it breaks down. If you like, when you first heard me play, you're like, oh, that's really hard. It really isn't, and I think you know that by now, because you can see it's just 1 and 2. There's no independence there. You know, the independence, I guess, comes from sometimes playing together and sometimes playing opposite instead of always playing the same thing together. All right, so we've got this, the whole thing. And that's today's lesson for tapping. I know it might seem, compared to like some of the trickier things I did in the previous units, this one's a little more attainable because I'm trying to I'm introducing a new concept of independence, so I take it down. I don't try to show you something that has independence that's really, really hard. But if you can get this together, I think you'll have a really good chance of working up your independence to where it'll express the music you hear inside. That's the goal. All right, let's move on to a very, very powerful, very cool recording. That is Discipline by King Crimson from 1981. So I have to tell you, not to sound like a blues song, but in the early 80s, I had no money. And so I was in high school, and this album came out, and I heard a friend play it, and I wanted it so bad, but I just had, whatever money I was getting in had to go to other things. I couldn't spend it on recordings and albums. And so then fast forward to I got a job, and I bought it on vinyl, and then wore it out, and then got it on cassette, wore that out, got it on DVD, or DVD. And it's just an amazing album. Discipline has Tony Levin. And what I like and why I chose it for this is for 5 of the tracks, he actually taps a Chapman Stick. Chapman Stick, if you're not familiar, is an instrument with multiple strings, and it's played by actually tapping on it. And you have bass strings, and normally the standard setup is bass strings in the middle and then more like the guitar strings on the outside. And you can get these amazing things, amazing sounds, amazing compositions. There's some amazing musicians doing solo albums with just them, but it sounds like a whole band. And it's kind of the pinnacle of tapping. A lot of independence. And here we have Tony Levin playing on Elephant Talk, Frame by Frame, In Discipline, Sheltering Sky, Discipline, the instrumental. All these you'll hear him tapping. The rest of the tracks he plays brilliant standard bass, just amazing. I mean, this album, and what I really love, to step away from the bass world for a second, is you have Robert Fripp and you have Adrian Belew, two groundbreaking, genre redefining guitarists put together and playing such it's incredible. If you're a fan of just real, simple blues or something like this might be a little too far for you. But I would say try it. Stretch yourself. Listen to something. In the very least, that song "In Discipline" has always been the track that just takes me away. I just love it. And I've never owned a Chapman Stick, but boy, Tony's a good salesman for me wanting to get one when you hear this recording. Of course, it has Bill Bruford on drums. So look at this powerhouse. Tony Levin, Adrian Belew, Robert Fripp, Bill Bruford. Amazing. That's your Fantastic Four. Hello, Marvel. That's Fantastic Four. So I know I might be overselling it. I hope not. But check it out, especially if you're looking for something fresh. Even though it's old, maybe it's fresh to what you've been listening to. And just musical mastery, cool soundscapes, and Tony Levin tapping his brains out. What could be better than that? All right, guys. Tapping Pattern 17, King Crimson, Discipline, 1981. It's been a hell of a day. This is the last video I'm shooting, and like I said, I've had to do them all pretty cut up, and but I just like this time. I like talking to you through this and having your comments. I like sharing with you guys and getting something back, and it's just awesome. So if you would please be so kind to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I post a video, and of course like and share the video. All this really helps, and it brings my spirits up and keeps me going, and you're going to be seeing more content, not just lesson content. I've been doing some lists, and I'm working out at the time of recording. We're going through this whole world thing where we can't get out and freely hook up with other players, so I'm looking at trying to do some Zoom interviews or things like that. So that's on the forefront in the future. All right, guys, love you so much. Thank you for stopping by, and just practice today. Just practice. Have fun. Be loud. scare some people. Ain't it fun?